With the training camp in Germany done and dusted now, Jurgen Klopp's men have arrived in Singapore and the fans have already made them feel very at home. 2 more pre-season games on the agenda now, one midweek against German giants Bayern Munich, but today all about a familiar foe in Leicester City. And the venue today is the National Stadium, the very impressive National Stadium. It's a 10 a.m. kickoff, and stick with us this Sunday morning as LFC TV and LFC TV Go as well are the only places where you can watch all of the action live. And it's a very warm welcome at this quite early time to Gary Gillespie and Jan Molby. Thank you for answering the call. Gary's normally limbering up for a round of golf at this time on a Sunday, are you not?
Well, normally I am, yeah, but after the show I'll be going.
Of course you are, after the show. What about yourself, Jan? Big
Sunday
plans
morning.
for today? Yeah.
I'm normally in
What's
bed
a
by
normally...
this. Yeah,
Are you?
Yeah.
I feel like you're normally out and about. I think you'd be an
I'm a
active
big
kind of
sleeper.
guy.
I'm a
Big sleeper.
Yeah.
Well, no
I'll vouch for
sleeping. No sleeping today, obviously. It's the second leg, if you like, Gary, of pre-season. Germany, some really impressive moments at times and things to pick out in those 2 games. But what are we expecting from these 2 games now? Undoubtedly a step up in quality of the opposition.
Step up in quality, a step up in probably game time for a lot of the players that are going to figure. Again, it's another step towards that first game against Chelsea. I think the players will have their mind as well that they've got Bayern Munich to come in a couple of days' time as well. But I think, given the choice, Jurgen Klopp would have probably liked to stay in Germany and maybe play a few more games. I don't think he's too keen on these commercial kind of trips. But in saying that, all the big clubs, do it. And again, it's another game against a Leicester team that didn't do so well in the Premier League last season and obviously got relegated, and they're kind of rebuilding themselves as well. So I think they've had a couple of games. The game against Tottenham got called off
It
due
did,
to
because
bad
of the weather, yeah.
So they're like more or less in the same kind of like stage in pre-season as Liverpool are. But again, I think it'll be a bit more of a test than maybe what we've seen in the last 2 games. Albeit, we've conceded like 6 goals in 2 games, which is a little bit concerning. Yeah,
we'll talk about those 2 games in a moment. But just in terms of, what Gary says, it is true putting the miles in to get out to places like Singapore. But on the flip side, it does really illustrate the fan base just around the world. And it's incredible the welcome the players have got here. And you can tell that they do really enjoy that side of these trips, don't they?
It's been quite incredible, hasn't it? I mean, if you go back to even our time where we believed that our fan base outside of Liverpool would be in Scandinavia. But that's what it was like, and we went every year, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, even sometimes to Finland, isn't it? And now we've opened up the whole world, and you can't help but being impressed. And, as much as Jurgen has a particular way he wants to do his pre-seasons, this is part of it. This is modern football.
Absolutely. OK, much more to come from you both. Remember, LFC TV and LFC TV Go, the only place you can see every Liverpool pre-season game live, and we'll be travelling with the team to give you the very best insights of their preparations. And to do just that, Rob Jones is over in Singapore for us. He's got the details of who gets to start for the Reds against Leicester today. Rob.
Thank you very much. A good evening from the National Stadium here in Singapore. Game 3 for Liverpool in pre-season, and Jurgen Klopp makes 4 changes from his last side as they take on Championship club Leicester City this evening. One of them comes in goal. Kevin Kelleher starts. Trent Alexander-Arnold reverts back to right back tonight. Conor Bradley is at home injured. The rest of the back 4, Konate, the captain Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson. Curtis Jones will start as the 6th tonight alongside Alexis McAllister and young Bobby Clark in midfield. Mohamed Salah comes in up front alongside Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota, with plenty of options, including fit again Dominic Szoboszlai on the bench. John Barnes is alongside me here. Very good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much.
Let's start then with Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's been playing as a midfielder in the last couple of games, back to right back. But the role we saw at the end of the last season is he's sort of got the licence to go where he pleases.
Well, I think it really depends on the nature of the team you're playing against, and the fact that you look at the midfield players we've signed now. I think that last year was out of necessity, because of course we didn't have the strong midfield that we do now in terms of the midfield players we've signed. So I doubt we'll see Trent doing that this season necessarily. But of course, in the odd game, maybe so. But he's still, in my opinion, he still provides more from a right back position. You saw him moving into midfield in possession. Out of possession, he gets back to right back, and he created quite a few opportunities. But we forget how creative he was from the right back position. The crosses, the crossfield passes, the through balls, the balls for Mo. So I think that we underestimate his value from that right back position because we were so happy with him moving in there. But with the new midfield we have, I don't think we'll see him doing it as much.
How different is distribution from a wide position compared to a central position?
Well, from a central position, you're either playing the ball forward into the striker or diagonally for the wide players to run onto. From a wide position, you're really creating goal-scoring opportunities with his crosses, with his diagonal balls over the top for the opposite left winger, if you like, to run onto. So in terms of creating more goal-scoring opportunities, being in a wide position, I think that's where Trent really operates at his best.
You spoke about the midfield and the new signings. Do you think being a Jurgen Klopp midfielder now is different to what it was 3 or 4 years ago?
No, I think it's probably different to what it was last year. Because when you're looking at Thiago, Harvey Elliott, who are very technical players in midfield, what we had before that, where we had Wijnaldum, Henderson, Milner, Fabinho, workers, and now if you look at McAllister coming in, you look at Szoboszlai coming in as much as he get forward. I think we've gone back to that tried and tested formula of hard-working midfield players who can press and win the ball. I think last year with the midfield we had, who were very technical, we weren't able to win the ball, which consequently affected the back forward's ability to push up. I think it's gone back to a much more solid, hard-working midfield, which will help the strikers to push forward more and win the ball, because they know if the ball's played past us, those midfield players will win the ball, whereas the last year we probably weren't doing that. So I think we've gone back to type, which is what we've seen for 2 or 3 years previously to last year.
And that's actually what we're seeing in training, is a huge level of intensity, and that was peak Liverpool, wasn't it? Where you looked around and thought, are there 13 of them out there? Because the other team have got no room, no time.
You know, I think that fans underestimate how important our 3 midfield players were. We look at Trent and Andy getting forward. We look at our front 3 scoring goals. And why we were able to attack is because those 3 midfield players were really defensive midfield players, which allowed Trent to get forward at the same time as Andy. No one can get forward, no 2 fullbacks get forward at the same time in a back 4. Ours did because of our midfield. Now, when you have real technical midfield players who aren't necessarily strong defensively, like a Thiago or Harvey Elliott, they can't get forward, because when we lose the ball, they're getting into our back 4, which is what we saw. So I think that we recognise now that the midfield is an area where we need to strengthen, which we did. Even last year when we needed to strengthen, they understood that get the players you can when you can. So because there were the midfield players available for us, we've got Nunes and we've got Gakpo. So if you can get those players as well, we do that. So now we've got great strikers, and now the midfield, we're supplementing that with good players as well. So I'm really excited about this season.
On the point of Nunes and Gakpo, forward-wise, where would you be with your front 3 for Stamford Bridge in a couple of weeks' time?
Well, of course, there's still a couple of weeks to go, so we're going to see what's happening now, because I mean, once upon a time when we spoke about, we knew what it was going to be. We know it was going to be Mane, Salah, Firmino. And now, of course, Nunes came in, and Nunes, I think, a difficult period, but I think he did really well with his effort, his commitment, his determination. Diaz showed the same. Cody has come in and done well. So, I don't think it's, apart from Mo, I don't think it's necessarily a settled 3 at this moment in time. I think the other 2 positions are up for grabs, and I think anyone putting in can't be the wrong decision, because they've got such good quality, good ability, good attention to detail in terms of what's expected from them, that I don't think you can make a wrong decision whoever he plays. But it'll be Mo and 2 others.
Yeah, just a final word then. 2 weeks to go until it all kicks off. We've had 2 games in Germany which felt very much about the fitness and the running. What do you want to see from a team the closer you get to an actual game?
We want to see cohesion and how we're going to play. Pre-season about getting the players fit, getting them up to speed. Yes, you want it to play in a particular way, but the closer you get to the beginning of the season, you want to see a formation. This is how we're going to play. This is so, and I think that he alluded to it last year. They came here first and then went to Germany after, whereas they went to Germany, did the hard work, got a couple of games, and now it's business now. So we will be seeing a team much closer to who's going to be starting in these next 2 games. We're going to see a team that's much closer to who's going to actually start in a couple of weeks' time in the Premier League.
John, thank you very much indeed for the moment. We'll be back very shortly with details of the Leicester City team here at the National Stadium.
Thank you very much to you both. Rob Jones and John Barnes out there for us in Singapore ahead of this one. Liverpool against Leicester City. Let's just refresh ourselves of that starting lineup, Gary. I think that is probably what we would have expected today, maybe say for a start for Bobby Clark, who we're actually going to hear from a little bit later on in the show. So we'll talk in depth about Bobby Clark a little bit later on. But a strong starting lineup for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that he's moved Trent back to that right back position. I think young Conor Bradley did exceptionally well when he was playing there, but interesting that he's not gone with Trent back in the middle of the park. Listening to Barnsley there, I think he makes us some good points that, like, you know, Liverpool from wide areas, like in the full-back positions, have probably been one of their strengths over certainly Jurgen Klopp's reign. So interesting that he's moved him back in there. It's a young midfield when you think young Clark and Curtis Jones. I think Curtis Jones is a big season for him. He finished the season last season very, very well, but he needs to, like, step up again, like to another level, and hopefully he can do that.
Yeah, it's a good talking point, Curtis Jones, which we will go over in just a moment. I just want to show you the subs, actually, Jan, because obviously that is how Liverpool start. You would imagine that team is not going to be how the Reds finish this afternoon against Leicester City. So we'll take a look at the substitutes when we can. I can tell you the likes of Cody Gakpo. Obviously, you'd expect to see Luis Diaz as well. So probably a few changes at some point, but maybe more around the 60-minute mark rather than half-time, you would think now, as we've seen before.
Yeah, I think it's more or less been covered by John and Gary, is that what we need now is cohesion, isn't it? I think we all feel that we're going to be seeing something slightly different to what we're used to with Jurgen Klopp. With Jurgen Klopp from season to season, it was a reload and away we go again. And I think we all feel this is going to be different. So at some stage, we have to try and get close to a starting 11 to try and build some relationships on the pitch, and I think that's very important. We're going to use the fullbacks different than what we've been using, and we're going to have a different midfield. We're going to be playing in a different way to what we're used to. And then, of course, we need to settle on a new front three.
Yeah, we do indeed, and so much choice for that front three rather as well. Let's go back to what you were talking about, Gary. Curtis Jones, it is potentially a really big season for him, and he had such a difficult season last time. You know, that really freak eye injury, if you like, the stress injury on his tibia as well. But he came through so well towards the end of the campaign, and obviously boosted as well by England over the summer. You would think he will come into this season absolutely raring to go.
Well, I think he'll be full of confidence. You know, I think this is what he needs to add to his game. I think a lot of the Liverpool midfield players have probably got to do exactly the same. In goals, I think that could be levelled at Luis Diaz as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays and where he plays. Whether he, like, you know, Jurgen looks as if he might want to play him as a number 6 as opposed to like an attacking midfield player. But you know, he's been very, very unfortunate with injuries, and that really has set him back. But now he's free of injuries. I think it's a big season for him, and I think he's got to really stamp his authority. He's at that age now where he's not a youngster anymore. Yeah. He's a recognised first-team player, and with that comes pressure that you've got to perform on a weekly basis.
Yeah, when you talk about authority there, Jan, it was noticeable for those you watching who were able to watch the England games that he was showing a lot of authority, determination, leadership, if you like, in those games, which are qualities, obviously, if he can bring to that Liverpool midfield, will hugely benefit them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and most footballers at some stage during their careers need to add to their game, and I think that was Curtis' problem. He needed to add to his game, and I think he's done that. That run of games he got towards the back end of the season would have been absolutely massive for him, and then going into doing so well for the under-21. So I expect a big season for him. If it's enough, I don't know, but I expect him to get his games and get his chances. But whether it's enough to get into the midfield 3 or 4, whatever way we're going to play, I don't know.
OK, Curtis Jones starts this afternoon, or this morning rather, against Leicester City. Also starting today, Diogo Jota, another player, Gary, so unlucky last season with injuries. And then even when he came back, it took him a while to get into gear. But then when he got into gear, there was no stopping him. And it's a cliche, isn't it? But you almost feel like him and Luis Diaz almost feel like new signings starting the season with them.
I think he didn't score for about like 6 or 7 games, and like when he came back, but like when he opened the door, like it was like a floodgate, wasn't it? I think when you look back at last season, you can level a lot of criticism about the way Liverpool played, but I think when you've missed Diaz and you missed Jota for like good part of the season, I think that had a significant part in the way that we played. I think you saw when they both came back, we were a different team, and we looked a far more cohesive team. But I think what he gets into the box, he gives you goals. He's a goal threat even from wide areas of the pitch. He's a willing runner. And listen, I mean, from that front three's point of view, we're really spoilt for choice. When you look at that front three, it could easily be Diaz on that left-hand side. You've got Gakpo to come in as well. So, you know, you are spoilt for choice. But again, if if he can stay clear of injury, then I think he's got a big part to play.
It's a tough dilemma. I mean, a nice dilemma for the boss almost. How do you fit them all into your system? How do you keep them all happy, I suppose, as well? That's another thing.
I think the majority of Liverpool fans, if they would have to pick their strongest Liverpool 11, Shota wouldn't get in it. But then when you see him play, you go,
how can you leave him out?
Exactly, because he has a game, doesn't he? You know, he plays in a certain way. He creates chances, he scores goals, isn't it? So yeah, he is one of those that once you see him and you go, this boy needs to be in the team every week.
Okay, let's get back over to Singapore, shall we? We can go to join Rob Jones. He has been talking to Bobby Clark. Rob.
Bobby, another chance for you to impress in pre-season. How much are you enjoying these opportunities?
Yeah, it's been really good, getting loads of opportunities to show what I can do, and there's another one today.
Jurgen said a few days ago that he feels like you're more of a man than this time last year. How would you describe the way you've changed?
Yeah, obviously I think I've grew a little bit on the time off, and obviously I was working hard in the gym and stuff, so yeah, it's paid off.
What have you taken from the last year or so, and obviously making your debut? How much has that changed you and given you a taste for more of it?
Yeah, as soon as I made my debut, I just wanted more straight away. Give us a little confidence booster, and I just wanted to get more of it.
Obviously a huge amount of experience in this squad too. What are you taking from the time you spend around the senior players?
Yeah, obviously it's great getting to advice off all of them, because obviously they've experienced lots in the game.
Also, midfield-wise, it seems a bit of a summer of change. A few players have left, a couple have come in, but do you see that as a chance to make the manager completely aware of what you can do and the fact that you're ready to go?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, a few midfielders left, a few good ones have came in, but it's obviously an opportunity to show them what I can do.
Tell me about pre-season so far, because watching the training sessions, they look intense.
Yeah, it's been really intense, but obviously it's good for the lads. Being a good camp, good fitness and stuff.
And ready to go today, a team that everyone knows a lot about, Leicester. It's strange to think that they're a championship team next year, but a good test.
Yeah, obviously a really good team. Obviously they went down last season, but lots of good players.
Thank you very much.
Okay, only 18 years old, Bobby Clark. I mean, what an exciting time for him, this pre-season tour out in Singapore with Liverpool.
It's a big occasion, isn't it? I mean, it's, you know, I don't reckon he'll figure too much throughout the course of the season. I think obviously the League Cup and maybe even like the Europa League that he might come in. But I think every time that I've watched him play, he does bring some to the party. He's technically very gifted, as all these young players are. And it's just about learning the game. As I say this often enough, that when you're a young player and you're coming into the side, it's proper, like it's a proper game. You can play all the games you want under 21 level, under 18 level, do all your technical stuff, but when you get into the real stuff, it becomes a little bit harder, more difficult. You've got to think a little bit quicker. But I think he's got all the tools to become a really good player. But it's down to him, you know, and obviously to get the opportunity to play in these pre-season games is great for him.
He's obviously, as you heard from his interview there, a Geordie boy, Jan, a Newcastle prodigy, 18 years old now, but he made his debut, I think, against Bournemouth in the 9-0 last season. Jurgen Klopp met with his family one-to-one personally to persuade him to come to Liverpool, which shows how highly he rates him. Yeah,
absolutely, and I think we see that again today. You know, the fact that, I know it's only pre-season, is it, but you kind of feel that we're moving towards the back end of pre-season, and for him to get a start today, it's a big thing. And I also feel that, and I think probably Klopp feel the same with our midfield, there is opportunities for some of the younger players to grab a spot, because Klopp is no longer sitting and got, I've got Fabinho here, I've got Henderson here and the boys, isn't it? So there's an opportunity. So yeah, this is a big opportunity for him. Yeah, and especially, you touched on it, but those Europa League games, especially the early rounds, there's so many matches to be played that you would think that really does lend itself to players like Bobby Clark to make an impression. Yeah, I think the one thing you would say about Jurgen Klopp is, like, he's not picking these youngsters just because they're youngsters and he wants to give them an opportunity. He's picking them because he thinks that he can do a job. Yeah. So, you know, in that respect, I think that, you know, he has got a chance and an opportunity to play in these Europa League games. But this is where, like, it all starts for him. And, you know, I can remember back when I was 18 years of age, I don't know if I'd been able to handle walking into a team as big as Liverpool's is at this moment in time. So all credit to him, and he's obviously doing the right things in training, and he's obviously impressing the manager, and that's, I mean, that's all you can really do. Yeah, he played the first 45 against Karlsruhe in midfield alongside Trent and Dominic Szoboszlai, so that's probably an occasion that you think, oh,
playing alongside Trent, and clearly wasn't overawed at all.
Well, let's hope not, because that's what it's all about. I mean, this is what Gary mentioned, is the ability to... Obviously, you've got to be able to play, haven't you? But you wouldn't be at Liverpool if you couldn't play. And then comes everything else that goes with being able to play. And not being overawed and getting on with it is one of those things. Yes, be respectful, but play your own game. And that, strangely enough, is also where a lot of youngsters don't quite make it, because they struggle to play their own game. They get intimidated by the environment that they're in, and it affects them. So let's hope that he can be respectful but play his own game.
OK, we will see in a bit of time. Against Leicester, Bobby Clark starts today. It was goals galore over in Germany for the Reds against Karlsruhe and Greuther Fürth. Here is a chance to look back at the very best bits from both of those games.
Well, whether it's your first game or your 1000th game, there are bound to be a few butterflies down there as the players make their way out for the first time ahead of the 2023-24 football season. Darwin Núñez, who looks in and behind. Salah is behind him. Núñez will get another go and will score. Appeals are there for offside. There's no flag coming, and Liverpool are off to an absolute flyer. Isaac stands over it, delivered by Neville, and the volley is hit absolutely brilliantly. Nice take by Stindl, and helps the ball on for Sebastian Young. It's opening up for Sebastian Young, who strikes home brilliantly. Nothing at all that Jarosz could do in the Liverpool goal. Decent ball, knocked down is good, and the finish is very, very tidy from Cody Gakpo. Beautiful little turn and strike, and Liverpool back unturned. That's Gakpo, it's a lovely ball, Diogo Jota, and Liverpool are lucky to win it, and do win it. It's beautifully finished, made by Cody Gakpo, and Jota dances his way through. Well, it's not the be-all and end-all winning, but it certainly feels nice that they could wrap it up in style here, which they do. McAllister to Jota, who scored 2 in a minute, and now Liverpool have 4. Liverpool have arrived in Willingham. It's a great little setting, great little venue for Liverpool to play match number 2 of their pre-season against the second-tier German outfit, Greuther Fürth. Oh, that's absolutely stunning. He has absolutely no right whatsoever to score that goal there, Luis Diaz. Just incredibly quick feet. Oh, that's a sloppy moment, which is going to cost the goal. Immediately seized upon by Green, who saw the opportunity. Salah will go now. Lovely ball inside Ita. Núñez is through the middle, and Kumas, and there's the ball for Darwin Núñez. Absolutely stunning. It all starts with an irresistible pass by Harvey Elliott, and Salah onto Darwin Núñez, and Liverpool score. On by Salah, and Núñez breaks the lines again, and he produces a moment of wonderful skill, and a third Liverpool goal. That's another really good moment. Great touch, great skill. It's offside surely as the ball is played forward. It has stayed down for now, the flag, and it will come loose, and it will be a goal. They're absolutely adamant that there was an offside in there. Gotu's playing a much more advanced role now with all the changes, and there's the pass and the finish. Really high quality from Sieb. It's 3-3, and now off go Greuther again, and the pass is towards Sieb, who strikes and scores again. He's caught it absolutely beautifully. That's a ball for Núñez, who's clearly onside here for Liverpool. He's forced very, very wide. The red shirts are coming in support, and Salah is there, and it's 4-4. And that's a really, really good finish, because he had to watch the ball and watch the post. But hey, that's what he does. Finishes Greuther Fürth 4, Liverpool 4. It's been a wild one.
Wild one indeed. Very entertaining games, both of those out in Germany. Plenty of goals at both ends, which we'll talk about in a moment. But on the positive side, Gary, I mean, it's strikers on fire. It's a good way to go into the season and breathe confidence.
Absolutely. I think Núñez has got 3. Jota's got right amongst the goals. I think the beauty about the way that Liverpool have got like the forward players is there's so many different combinations that Jurgen can use, and they all seem to like work. I think McAllister's got a big part to play in that final third of the pitch as well, with the supply that he can give you. Mohamed Salah is obviously a given, like he's going to start. But I totally agree with like Barnesy when you were listening to him. I think the other two places are really up for grabs. I don't think that Jurgen quite knows his best formation and his best starting 11 at this moment in time. And maybe that's a good thing, or maybe that's a bad thing, who knows. But in saying that, there's so many different options that he can use, and it's nice to see, you know, when you're playing pre-season, the likes of Nunez has scored and the likes of Jota's got goals. Diaz has contributed, which I think he needs to contribute a little bit more from that wide left position. So, you know, in the positive terms, that really is good for Jurgen and good for Liverpool that they're getting amongst the goals.
If we're going to be slightly negative, and Gary touched on it earlier on about conceding 6 goals in the 2 games against, no disrespect, but maybe opposition that would be seen as lesser in quality, certainly than Leicester and Bayern Munich. Is that a concern at all, or is the fact that, you know, a lot of these lineups, especially second half, are players that don't usually play together? Those kind of relationships haven't been formed in terms of defensive, you know-how with each other and how they're going to play. Is that big mitigating circumstances there?
There will be Liverpool fans who will be concerned about that. And one of the reasons they're really concerned is that we also saw it last season that there was a tendency that at times it was too easy to create chances and score goals against us, and some people will look and go, here we go again. But I think if you watch the 2 games and you know what they've been doing in terms of pre-season work, the games weren't that important. And if you look at the second half against Greuther was ridiculous, wasn't it? There was that many chances at both ends. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, isn't it? But if you look at the personnel, you know, I think you can make excuses. And so I'm not overly concerned. You know, I still think we got some of the best defenders in the world. We're just searching for the right formation, and we need to sort of get our engine going again, which is our midfield, isn't it? And I think once we get that sorted, I think we'll be okay. I'm
going to stick with you, Jan, because Gary just spoke about Luis Diaz there. I'm just going to touch on him because that first goal against Greuther was special. It was a little bit of magic, wasn't it? And he still seems to have, despite going into now, he's had half a season, didn't he? Joined in January, then a full season last season, so he's going into his 3rd season. Still got that air of unpredictability, and you never quite know what he's going to do, which is a great quality to have in your team.
Yeah, absolutely, and also the fact that he's obviously been here a while now, and he was unbelievable when he came into the team, and then through injuries and whatever. So we're still a bit uncertain what exactly is he going to bring to the team. There's no doubt that he'll bring some excitement, but in terms of end product, will he have enough assists and enough goals? And we spoke about Curtis Jones before, and every footballer needs at some stage to add to their game. And I think Luis Diaz is at that stage now where we need to add more assists and more goals and more consistency.
Let's talk about Darwin Núñez, such a character of this Liverpool team. He's so loved by the fans. Impressive as well in the 2 pre-season games we've seen so far. He's got 3 goals, 15 goals and 4 assists for his first season in the Premier League. Pretty decent stats, you would say, but he will be wanting to build on that, Gary, this season. How does he make that step up? Consistency is probably a big word, I guess.
Yeah, I think. I mean, just going back to what you're saying, his stats last season, pretty respectable really for a player coming into a new side, new country. He's still a young man as well. He's a little bit of a loose cannon. We're not quite sure what you're going to get with Darwin Núñez, but the one thing that you can be guaranteed that he's a willing runner. He's got plenty of energy. He's got plenty of pace as well. And certainly in the 2 games that we've seen so far, the combination that he's had with Mohamed Salah has been a productive one, both scoring and assisting as well. So I think it'll do him the world of good that he's amongst the goals. I still think that he's got to still fit into the Liverpool side, or Liverpool have got to play something out to his strengths as much as he has to adapt to Liverpool's strengths. So I think there's still better to come from Darwin Núñez, and when that happens, then I'm sure he'll be amongst the goals and probably score even more than what we saw last season. I
mean, we would love that, wouldn't we? He, of course, has got a huge shirt on his back as well this season. He's now the number 9 for Liverpool, which carries a weight of responsibility in itself. What does he need to do for you, Darwin Núñez, to make that step up?
Well, I can understand why people are excited, because the potential is there, and you do look at a footballer who are quite capable of maybe scoring 30 plus goals in a season, so that in itself is excitement. Now I think, and it looks like we're doing that, I think we just need to strip the game back for Darwin Núñez. Bobby Firmino was almost like a perfect footballer. Cody Gakpo is coming towards being a perfect number 9. Darwin Núñez will have his qualities and he'll have his shortcomings, isn't it? And it just looks like they've sat down and go, listen, what is it that makes Darwin Núñez play? What is it that makes him dangerous? What makes him score goals? And that is creating room where he can run away from the ball, make the pitch long. Hopefully we got midfield players further up the field who can provide him with those passes, isn't it? And we also saw the pass from Salah for Núñez for the goal against Greuther Fürth, which was a beautiful goal.
It was. People who followed him out in Portugal, Gary, will no doubt know that he only really started to find his feet with Benfica in his second season. So I guess that's something to point to as well, that first season of adjustment maybe.
Yeah, I think, I mean, every player that moves to a different, a new football club, a new country, takes time to adjust. And, you know, I think Jan makes a really good point that he's an exciting player. And I think the best of like Darwin Núñez is like when he's running in behind defences, because he's got that blistering pace that can stretch the pitch. You know, Mohamed Salah was that kind of player maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe doesn't have the same blistering pace that like he once had. But when you look at Mohamed Salah's stats with assists and goals, you know, that's the target that really Núñez should be looking at. Like for like a player of his ability, how can I match like Mohamed Salah? Because Mohamed Salah's stats speak for themselves through the roof. But that's the kind of level that like Darwin Núñez I think has to get, and I'm sure in time we'll get there.
OK, a big season ahead for Darwin Núñez. Right, we have seen the Liverpool starting 11 for this morning's pre-season game. Time now to get all the details on the opposition. Back over pitch side in Singapore. Rob Jones is there. He's got the lowdown on Leicester City. Rob.
Thanks very much. Welcome back to the National Stadium. Liverpool up against Championship opposition today. It seems strange to say that about Leicester City, just 7 years on from one of the greating sports stories of all time, winning the Premier League title. But this is the team their new manager Enzo Maresca has selected for their 5th pre-season game. One of their summer signings, Mads Hermansson in goal. A very strong looking back four, captain Ricardo, Manchester City loanee Callum Doyle alongside Yannick Vestergaard and Timothy Castagne. In midfield, Wilfred Ndidi, who scored the only goal in Leicester's last pre-season game, alongside another summer signing Harry Winks and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, with a front three of Casey McAteer, Mark Albrighton, one of the few remaining title winners. The Zambian striker Patson Daka will lead the line. No Jamie Vardy today, he is injured. Former Liverpool goalkeeper Danny Ward is amongst the substitutes. Gary McAllister has been swapped in for John Barnes, quite the substitute to make. We'll talk about Liverpool in just a moment, but as I said just then, it seems odd talking about Leicester in the division outside the top flight.
No, it's only 7 years and they've won a cup as well in between, so it is very surprising. So they'll be smarting a little bit. Sometimes fans, you know, you've got to be, you know, what you want for, but the fact is they're in the Championship now, and they've got to deal with that. And I think there'll be a really good test for Liverpool tonight.
It was interesting speaking to Jurgen a little bit earlier. He said, you make one mistake in the Premier League, or you know, a season of mistakes, yes, and it costs you big time. And that was it, wasn't it? That there seemed so many good players, and it took them so long to wake up to the trouble they were in.
Yeah, I think they lost by the odd goal a lot. You know, in games they were very good at keeping possession under Brendan, of course. But you know, as you say, you can boss the game with the ball, and then you just get absolutely punished if you make silly mistakes at the back. And that's what seemed to happen to Leicester quite a lot.
Obviously lost some big players over the course of the summer, James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, but even going through that team, then you think they should be right at the top of the Championship.
Yeah, I've just been looking at the middle of the park especially. I think Dewsbury-Hall's a player that I like, and Ndidi as well, and the signing of Winks. So across the middle of the park, you know, they've still got Jamie Vardy as well, and Deck up front. So they've got ammunition. But the thing is, the players are not used to the demands of the Championship. So it's a big ask. You know, you have to go Saturday, Tuesday. 46 games is a tough schedule.
Let's get McAllister on McAllister then. Yeah. What have you made of the new boy so far?
Well, listen, I've admired watching him play for Brighton. He's a fantastic season last year, you know, eclipsed by winning a World Cup. So there's a player there for, in my eyes, can score a goal and make a goal. He's very combative as well, so no worries there. So I think he'll come in, and I think he'll be a big influence this season.
Can we expect him to hit the ground running quicker than Dominic Szoboszlai, yeah, because he knows the league?
Absolutely. I think the advantage there is, of course, he's played in the league. He knows the demands, and obviously he'll be going to the grounds and knowing the grounds, especially the away grounds, and he'll quickly get used to playing at Anfield, where hopefully Liverpool will be bossing a lot of games. So that does give him a little bit of an advantage over Szoboszlai, so it's pretty obvious.
In terms of the way that the midfield sets up then, do you think it will be different? And where do you see Trent fitting into it? We spoke to John Barnes about it a little bit earlier on, but it seems the key question at the moment.
Well, obviously Conor Bradley's he's featured well in the right back area, so that would allow Jurgen to use Trent and push him into the middle of the park. But I think they'll go between it. I think there'll be changes of tactics, depending on who the opposition is. Trent has obviously shown when he stepped in front of the two centre halves, he's very capable of hitting some unbelievable passes. I think in the last 5-6 games of the season, he was the player for me who jumped out. It was a change of position for him, but he looked so comfortable there receiving. But for me, his range of pass, we all know when he gets high up the pitch as a right back, he can deliver. But I thought some of his vision from the central midfield position was outstanding.
It also coincided with a really good run towards the end of the season. There have been some brilliantly intense training sessions here and in Germany as well. It feels like both the manager and the team are saying, look, we're going to show you who the real Liverpool are. Remember how good we are at the start of the season.
I think last year they did this trip round the other way. So now they're winning in Germany, they've got their pre-season legs on. They've done the hard miles. So they've come here, and I think Jurgen will be turning his attention to Chelsea. So I think as we get closer to the Chelsea game, you'll start seeing little, groups of players and little combinations where he's maybe the team that he's going to use come Chelsea away.
Because that's interesting when you talk about combinations. That number 6, as Jurgen calls it, Curtis Jones is playing there today. He said he's excited to see how it looks, and obviously without players who have played there a lot in the past, there is a space.
I think Curtis is a very capable player, and he's shown that when he's featured for the team. The thing is, he has an experience, and to repeat and repeat is something. Until you get the games, you'll never know. So he's a player definitely capable. But when we talk about that 6th position, the fact is we have signed 2 midfielders, and there's 3 good young ones. But numbers-wise, we have lost a few. So that it's still Jurgen was chatting yesterday and saying that probably one more player. And I think that might be that specific player of being the number 6.
Gary, thank you very much indeed. A good chance to see Curtis Jones in a slightly different role, to see young Bobby Clark from the start as well here in 32-degree temperatures with the roof closed here at the National Stadium in Singapore.
OK, that is Rob Jones and Gary McAllister with the Leicester City lineup for you. And Rob has been a busy boy because earlier on he caught up with Jurgen Klopp. Here he is with the Liverpool manager.
Thank you very much. The Liverpool manager is alongside me, having trained here last night. We spoke to Pep after the session. He said the focus was on intensity in the counter press and flexibility in attack. Is that 2 things you want to see today?
Yes, plus good organisation, plus understanding of what we are doing, like the timings, the movements, how we want to create spaces, how we want to use gaps and these kind of things. So we spoke a lot, we trained a lot. So here less so far, of course, but before. And so I'm curious actually where we are. Just everything looks really good. The boys really buy into it. I like that a lot. So there, from that point of view, nothing to moan in the moment. Now we have to put it on the pitch. That's the next step, obviously.
I guess when we talk about flexibility, we see Trent go back to starting as a right back today rather than midfielder, and you played Cody as one of the 4 attackers in the last game, whereas it's back to the 3 today. So you have options in how you set up, I guess, which is nice.
Yeah, but so today we have 3 more games now, but I think that's clear that we have today. We give them all again 45 minutes. With the goalies is slightly different, but all the rest will probably play 45 minutes. We'll see what we can do with Dom. It's always like because he came now back. Is he fine for 45, or do we have to change after 30? But that's nothing special. Yeah, we have options. Kurt is on 6 today in the first half. It's interesting from a football point of view. It would make massively sense, but obviously we have to see how compact can we be. It's always the same. If you are whoever you have on the 6, if you are not compact, the 6 is lost. If you are compact, then it's not as difficult a job to do. And I'm really curious about that as well, how that looks. And yeah, Cody can play obviously different positions. Diogo can play different positions. That's all clear. Dom can play different positions. So whatever we do, and that's the idea behind, we will, from the skill set point of view, we will be pretty offensive. And that means then we have to, all the offensive players have to defend their socks off pretty much, that we can do it like that. So let's have a look how it looks, and I'm excited.
Seems strange to talk about Leicester as a championship club, doesn't it? They've given you so many proper games over the years, and tonight, even though it's pre-season, should be no different.
No, absolutely, a good team. Okay, they lost obviously 3 of their absolute top players with Madison, Barnes and Tielemans, but brought in good ones with Winks and Cody. I'm not 100% sure, I didn't see the lineup yet, how they can play and who they can line up, but Vardy's still there, Iheanacho is still there, Ndidi is still there, so good team. Shrewsbury Hall is still there, so yes, they are one of the favourites in the championship, definitely. And we all know how football is. I came in the country and they became champions. So it's not that I knew a lot about Leicester before, but I learned a lot in a pretty short time. And yeah, absolutely top club. Since I'm in England, they were for me one of the really good clubs. Won the FA Cup, qualified for Europe, all these kind of things. So really top. Yeah, and now, if you make mistakes in the Premier League, wow, it hits you full throttle. And but I think they have a good chance to come back.
Just finally, it's an amazing welcome pretty much every time you step out your hotel room, but it was special here at training last night. Hoping for more of the same this evening.
Yeah, we spoke just about it in the restaurant. It was unbelievable yesterday. When you look in the eyes of the people, what it means to them, it's absolutely insane. And it's really difficult to think it's about you, and that as a human being it's just not possible. But it's really nice that we obviously can give some joy to the people here. They come, I'm not sure, one held a sign up 861 miles to get a signature. But the problem is with the signature, you start with one and they run over each other. So it's really tricky. You want to go there, you cannot do all, that's clear. But you give one and then 20 jump over him, and that makes this life slightly difficult. So not everybody was satisfied last night, probably. We try to do as much as we can around the hotel, in the hotel. But yeah, it's special to travel with Liverpool.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. That's Jurgen. We'll be back with much more build-up very shortly here from the National Stadium.
Thank you very much, Rob. Jurgen Klopp out there. Looking forward to this one, as are we, against Leicester City. Let's just remind you of the Leicester City lineup that is going to take on Liverpool, rather. I think we've got it for you. There it is. This is Leicester's team. I mean, it's a bit of a Leicester City side that has some unfamiliarity to it. As the boss was saying there, you know, big names that have departed. There's some of the likes of Harvey Barnes, James Maddison, Yuri Tielemans. It's a strange concept for them not to be in the Premier League.
Well, big names that didn't quite perform, hence the reason why they're in the Championship. Vardy's still there, obviously not playing today, disastrous season for them. Hopefully they can bounce straight back, but I think teams will find it, it's very difficult to bounce straight back from the Championship. So they've got it all to do. But saying that, there's still enough quality there that you would suggest that they should be up the top of the table, actually pushing for promotion.
Yes, it's critical that they do bounce back quickly, isn't it, Jan? Because it's such a dogfight to get out of the Championship. Well, you've got those parachute payments, if you like, to try and bounce back up.
And Leicester does give you the impression that they're a Premier League club, so they need to be back. I mean, they've got great training facilities. Even without the 3 big names who've left, they've still got a very strong squad. They've got a lot of young, exciting players. So if you look back at the Championship last year and what Burnley did to the Championship, I expect Leicester to be capable of doing something similar. New young manager with new ideas, and still a lot of good players.
Yeah,
I expect them to come back.
Sorry, and let's talk about the new manager, Enzo Maresca, Gary, because for those who are unfamiliar with him, assistant most recently at Manchester City, he's also been assistant boss at West Ham. His only full-scale sort of senior managerial experience has been with Parma. So is he a bit of a gamble to be the man to get them out of the Championship?
I think any appointment these days is, whether it's a player or whether it's a manager, it is a little bit of a gamble. I think they'll have done their due diligence at Leicester, they'll have looked into it. I think the fact that Arteta was assistant to Pep Guardiola and what he's done at Arsenal is certainly
worked out quite well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's worked out quite well for Arsenal. So they maybe looked at that and thinking, well, it's worked for Arteta. Maresca might be exactly the same. But I mean, when you look at his CV, the teams that he's played for, I didn't realise he had played for West Brom when he was a kid, 18 years of age. I think
I did not know that either.
He played at West Brom, but his CV is very, very impressive as a player. hopefully he can take that into management and get Leicester back into the Premier League next season.
Okay, well, as ever, LFC TV have travelled with the team to bring you exclusive coverage of the Reds' pre-season preparations. And once again, Rob Jones is pitch side for us at the Singapore National Stadium. This time he's joined by a very special guest. Rob.
Welcome back to the National Stadium. This is the tunnel where the players will make their way out, come kick-off against Leicester City a little bit later on. First pre-season where this man, Lucas Leiva, has not been playing his own friendly games. Does it seem strange for you not to be part of a proper pre-season?
Yeah, it does feel strange, but I'm enjoying every minute, you know, in the new role, let's say. So looking forward to the game. I think it's going to be a really intense game, you know, getting towards the beginning of the season. So we are all excited to see how the team will start playing, and hopefully they will get, you know, another 90 minutes under their shoulders. That will be important for the season.
It also seems strange going into a Liverpool game without Jordan Henderson being here, from someone who knows him so well, particularly as a leader, a hard man to replace.
Of course, Jordan was the captain, you know, he won everything with the club. Of course, he leaves a big hole, but I'm sure the team is ready to fill that hole, you know. We have so many experienced players as well in the squad that will try to help, especially the young players. But of course, Jordan, for 12 years, he was a very good leader, and we just now have to move on because, you know, it's a Premier League starting and we need to start well.
I think Jurgen Klopp said that it was the perfect story, but maybe one that you can relate to, that initially in his career at Liverpool there were difficult times, but he had the happiest of endings and won everything, which is what it's all about.
It's very similar to mine. When I first came, you know, a slow start, of course. He came very young, and he got the respect he deserved. You know, he worked so hard for that and became a captain and leaded the team, you know, to a fantastic moment. So we just wish him luck, and hopefully, for sure, he will be supporting the Reds now as a supporter.
It's funny that you talk about senior players there, because that is the thing, that it's not just ever about one person having to stand there and give speeches. There are 3 or 4, there were leadership groups, wasn't under Jurgen, and probably still will be, that everyone has to do a little bit.
I think a team is made by 4 or 5 captains, you know. Of course, there is one that only can wear the armband, but behind this guy, there are so many important players as well that keep on daily basis leading by example, and that's the case. We can say Virgil, Alisson, Trent, you know, so many players that are here have that leadership that will help to fill the hole that Jordan left.
I guess the other interesting thing about leadership is that the game has changed, that we all think of an old style captain just yelling at everyone all the time, but it's different now, and we think back, as someone like Gini would be quiet but a leader in his own way. Maybe Mo Salah is like that a little bit too.
Oh yeah, Gini was a fantastic player but also a leader. You know, different style of leadership you have. You know, there are listen. So, like I said, you know, I think the squad have many leaders that will for sure lead the team to a good season.
We're a couple of weeks away now. There's still 3 pre-season games to go. There's always this discussion about, do results matter? But does it change from, I don't know, game 1 to game 3? You want to see more about the style of the performance that will look like what it might look like against Chelsea?
Of course, it's getting towards the beginning of the season. You know, we are 2-3 weeks away. So, of course, it's the fourth game of the pre-season, I think. So, we want to see, you know, how Jurgen is thinking about the team selection, you know, who is going to start against Chelsea. But of course, it's still pre-season. Results always matter because it's important winning. And for sure today is going to be an interesting game.
Well, thank you very much indeed for the moment. You can enjoy a pre-season game without having to sprint around all over the place, which is nice.
That would be a lot easier than be on the pitch for sure.
Good man, thank you very much for being with us. We are getting closer and closer to kick off here in Singapore.
We are indeed. Thanks very much, Rob Jones with Lucas. Lucas, of course, retired in March. Nice to see him back with the club in an official capacity. Touched, of course, on the departure, Gary, of Jordan Henderson this week, officially confirmed a few days ago. I mean, watching that footage back, all the trophy lifts, all the amazing memories that I'm sure he will take with him to his next adventure. I mean, what a captain he's been for this club.
Well, he's been just not a captain, but a player as well. When you think Kenny signed him in 2011, was it, or something like that? I think it was some way back in the day. There was questions when they signed him for, I think, £20 million. The price tag weighed quite heavy on his shoulders for a long spell at the start of his career at Liverpool. But then he overcame that and basically became the player and the man that he became. And you know, when you look at his trophy haul as a Liverpool captain, it speaks volumes for it. His ability, his leadership qualities. And much has been made about, you know, like the fact that he wasn't like the best. Jordan Henderson played a massive part in like the success that Liverpool have had over the last few years. You don't need to be the best player in the world to be a really good captain, and let's face it, he was an absolutely like gem of a captain. I think if you ask anybody inside that dressing room, coaching staff, players, they will have like the utmost respect for him. So he'll be sadly missed, but yeah, that's football. You're here today, going tomorrow, and let's look forward to the next player.
Well, the next captain as well is to be decided, Jan. I mean, as Gary touched on there, it means the dressing room has lost, of course, Henderson's voice, but also another huge one as well in James Milner this summer. So it's a big task for Jurgen Klopp to assign the armbands next. Who do you think it goes to?
Well, obviously, the obvious choice is Virgil van Dijk, isn't it? You would think, and you saw him in some games last year have the armband, but I think Jurgen will give it some thought, because there's other people who could potentially be captain. Alisson could be a captain. Trent would be an interesting one as a young local boy, and what it would mean to him. But it is important. I think the captaincy is more important in football than it probably ever was in our day. It was not necessarily a big thing, but today it's a big thing, isn't it? But I'm sure Jurgen will get that right.
OK, well, that is the build-up to Liverpool's first outing in Singapore done and dusted. Gary is going to head over to the commentary booth to join John Bradley, who'll guide you through all the action from over in Germany. Don't forget, Jan will be back with me at half-time to go over the best bits from the first half. Then after the break, we'll have Liverpool against Leicester live on LFC TV and LFC TV Go, the only place to see every game from the Reds' pre-season campaign.
Back towards Diogo Jota, who's inside the penalty area and scores! Absolutely incredible! Scenes the like of which only seem to happen at Anfield. Salah across the face of goal! It's Darwin Núñez on his Premier League debut! And Firmino and Luis Diaz! Salah, Alexander-Arnold, Cody Gakpo has scored his first goal for Liverpool.
Can he find the pass? Diogo Jota, will he go on his own? Finds Salah, body movement was great, the finish was even better.
That's the ball for Núñez, and he takes it, he slams it home.
Diogo Jota has rattled one in.
Salah's doing it one way, then the other. Gakpo! There's the ball for Salah, who's got the spin. You just don't stop him when he's in that mood. So that's back towards Diogo Jota, who's inside the penalty area and scores! Nicely done by Luis Diaz. Might need a moment of brilliance here for Liverpool. It's absolutely stunning from Luis Diaz. There's nothing quite like Liverpool and Manchester United to get the juices flowing. That's a lovely ball. And Gakpo, and still Cody Gakpo, goal! It's absolutely brilliant! Sure, only half away, goal! It's delight for Darwin Núñez! Lisandro Martinez is the defender. Salah's doing it one way, then the other. Gakpo! Oh, incredible goal! It's going to come to Salah! Oh, what a way to go level with Robbie Fowler! Comes to Henderson. And Nunez! And the Salah! 6 for Liverpool! Salah, surely not another hat-trick. Oh, Firmino! It is another! It's 7 for Liverpool! Sensational! Astonishing! Incredible!